Well, it seems like the Supreme Court finally did something right today. They told the Mexican government, who was trying to sue American gun manufacturers for the violence in their country by the cartels, to go pound sand. Hey everybody, Yankee here. If you've been paying attention to this, the Mexican government has decided they wanted to sue American gun manufacturers because of all the violence in their country due to the cartels. You know, these criminal organizations that the politicians were pretty much part of. They were definitely on the payroll, and they allowed them to grow and grow and grow until they became more powerful than the government. And now they're only mad because the people are starting to hold them accountable, and the cartels think they're too big to pay every politician now. So a lot of the politicians are upset because they've been cut out. So they're trying to gain points with the people, and they're trying to do it by going after the manufacturers of the firearms that the cartels are using. Because, you know, going after the actual cartels is dangerous. This would be an easy payday for them if they could actually do this. Unfortunately, it would also bankrupt most of the gun manufacturers in the U.S. And this case was originally thrown out immediately when it was filed. You know, the original judge that heard it said, this is ridiculous. Their standing to sue is questionable at best. And the whole idea that they're holding a manufacturer accountable for something downstream from their product production where someone misuses their product criminally, well, that was kind of ridiculous. So it got thrown out. Well, the First Circuit Court of Appeals, which is based in, I believe, Massachusetts, they said, no, this has got to be allowed to go forward. So they revived it because, you know, they're big on the Bloomberg money. They love all that money. All the politicians up there love his money. Not that politicians everywhere else don't love it as well. They do. I mean, there's a lot of Bloomberg money comes into here in Washington, and we're as far away from New York and Boston as you could be. So they love Bloomberg. They love his money. And they love serving that 1% interest that says, hey, we don't want poor people having guns or else we might not be able to abuse them forever. So the First Circuit revamped or revived this lawsuit and said it can go forward. Because like I said, they want to bankrupt the manufacturers. In fact, that's been most of Bloomberg's plan over the last several years is, well, since we can't destroy the Second Amendment, let's go after retailers, manufacturers, etc. If we wipe them off the face of the planet, well, then it doesn't matter what rights people have as far as guns are concerned because they won't be able to get them. That's been their goal for a while now. That's been their main game plan. So, like I said, First Circuit revived this lawsuit, and it finally made it to the Supreme Court today, and they ruled unanimously that Mexico can go pound sand. They basically said what I said here just a minute ago, that it is utterly ridiculous to try to hold a manufacturer accountable for downstream misuse of their product, criminal misuse of their product. That'd be like saying Ford is liable every time some nut job got in one of their trucks and drove it into a crowd of people. Because, oh, Ford should have put technology on that truck that when it was running into people, it'd stop. It would die or something. To prevent that guy from misusing it. No, they shouldn't have to do that. They should not be responsible for the actions of crazy people. And they definitely shouldn't be responsible for actions of criminal organizations that are definitely promoted and, you know, catered to by their local government down there in Mexico. I'm sorry, I can't really find the right words there, but you know what I mean. And in this case, they did the right thing. They said absolutely not. In fact, the law that's in place to protect firearms manufacturers from frivolous lawsuits strictly says this case can't go forward and that the First Circuit just ignored the law. And they do that all the time. Supreme Court seems to ignore the law when it benefits them too. So I'm not saying that their hands are clean in this situation, but at least in this case, they said and did the right things. They said this lawsuit is not going anywhere. Gun manufacturers should not be liable for this. And it's ridiculous that they've had to foot the cost up till now. After the First Circuit actually revived this lawsuit, I think that maybe the First Circuit, the judges who said this lawsuit should go forward, should be on the hook for the money that this has cost. They knew it wasn't something that was viable. They just wanted to hurt the gun manufacturers. They had to bend over backwards to justify how they were letting this go forward because they knew they were wrong. They just were sworn via blood money to make sure it tried to go through because of their political alliances. So that's dead. That lawsuit where the Mexican government's trying to scapegoat gun manufacturers in our country, it's dead. It's not going any further. Never should have gone this far. But like I said, we got politicians, judges, etc. that are still just politicians, the judges, that will do the work of big money, do the work of the 1% and ignore the Constitution and ignore our laws. And this is a perfect example of it. So like I said, at least this time, the Supreme Court stepped up and said, not on our watch. Hey everybody, Yankee here. Before we go, I just want to take a second to remind everyone that this channel is 100% viewer funded. We don't take a penny from advertisers, retailers. We don't take money from political organizations. There's no one telling me what I need to tell you. Everything that we do is done through the generosity of our viewers, either buying merchandise or becoming a patron or a Subscribe Star member. You're all the ones that support Pets and Vets and TYMP. And that's the reason I can stay true to myself and loyal only to the people who watch my channel. And I can spend my time talking about what I want to talk about, telling what I think needs to be said, and giving you my uncensored take on things I think you need to hear. So if you'd like to help keep things that way, please support the channel by becoming a patron, a Subscribe Star supporter, or just going over to my web store and buying some merch. The links are all in the upper corner of this video.